Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. Very warm welcome to anyone new to this channel, and a warm welcome back to any of my subscribers or frequent flyers. To anyone who's new, this channel is dedicated to helping people understand the difference between authentic, actual non-duality and Neo-Advaita, or fake non-duality, and very specifically, recovering from the impact of Neo-Advaita. If you'd like to know more, you can click on, if you're new and like to know more, you can click on the link in the chat box or below. Okay, announcements taken care of, but there's one other very important announcement which I make from time to time is that I am not a guru. I am not enlightened in any sense of the word, any legitimate definition I've come across. I mean, I could make up an illegitimate definition, which is basically what Neo-Advaita teachers have done. So I just share my knowledge, my experience, and I also point people in the direction of people who I consider to be actually enlightened. A big part of how Neo-Advaita works meaning infect our mind and heart, and to some extent even our body, is that we listen to people who aren't enlightened talk about enlightenment. That's, in some ways, the Neo-Advaita phenomena is very simple. I, and if you're here, probably you and many people falsely thought someone was enlightened, and we took them too seriously. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Tragically funny. So I received a beautiful letter. This person wrote, "I am going the way of devotion now. My heart is pulled in that direction. Before, I thought it, meaning devotion, is meaningless because there is just one true path." That's what Neo-Advaita teachers teach. I don't know if some teacher said that or I just understood it that way, but it's far from the truth. I like Krishnamurti talks, and especially that he wants you to actually think for yourself. And I feel that so much now. How can we ask someone to tell us about ourselves? That is absurd. If anyone wants to actually help people, they should encourage them to think for themselves and stand for themselves, or how Krishnamurti puts it, to be a light to yourself. Beautiful, beautiful letter. Thank you so very much for that. First and foremost, going the way of devotion. Me too. I don't know if you can read my shirt. It says BYS, Bhakti Yoga Society. That I've known for since about 2016, 2017 that I needed to stop non-duality and pursue bhakti. Bhakti means devotion, the path of devotion. But man, I was still hooked in, but I'm finally doing it now. And it really works for me. And apparently it really works for this person as well. And actually I have another someone who comes by this channel who said it really works for them. And, I do my best to keep my suggestions very broad because different things work for different people. And Bhakti may be one of the keys to recovering from Neo-Advaita as I hear more people's experience. And the paradox is that in traditional Advaita, Bhakti is a part of it. So even if you decide to stick with Advaita and find a traditional Advaita teacher, you're going to be doing some Bhakti. There's many different types of Bhakti. A common one is japa, repeating a name of God or a short mantra inwardly. A very pleasurable one is called kirtan, where you repeat names of God, you sing them. Or also bhajans, short devotional, beautiful songs that just open the heart. And Ramana Maharshi was very much a bhakta. A bhakta means a devotee of God or a practitioner of God. And Neo-Advaita teachers can't explain, well, how did someone who realized the self, how could they also be a bhakta? That's because Neo-Advaita teachers have put an immense split between knowledge and devotion. And it's a false split. Ramana Maharshi himself said, Bhakti, devotion, leads to knowledge. And by knowledge, he was talking about enlightenment, knowledge of the self. And he said, jhana, knowledge of the self, leads to devotion. So any teacher who isn't just brimming over with devotion hasn't realized the self, at least according to Ramana Maharshi. Gregory, hi, welcome. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in. So to this person who's going the way of Bhakti, I salute you. And yes, I used to think Bhakti was meaningless as well. I was like, what's the point? Like that's not going to lead to enlightenment, because we've been lied to by Neo-Advaita teachers that there's only one path. Great question, Gregory. I'll get to it in a moment. And it's just a lie. It's the opposite of what Ramana Maharshi taught. Ramana Maharshi did not teach one path. And anyone who says that Ramana Maharshi only taught one thing or one practice is just their lie. They're misinformed. Maybe they're lying, but they're definitely misinformed. Ramana advocated bhakti, karma yoga, traditional kundalini yoga, the path of surrender. He even recommended preliminary practices before practicing self-inquiry. So to this person, I don't know if it was explicitly or implicitly told to you, but Neo-Advaita teachers in general will explicitly or implicitly say there's only one path, which is what makes it a religion. Not in the good sense of the word either, bordering on a cult. Our way or the highway. And I'm sure the person wrote, the idea that there's only one path is far from the truth. I agree. Ramana Maharshi agrees. I agree, but more importantly, Ramana Maharshi agrees, and countless Hindu sages agree. This person wrote, I like Christian work, and you taught it, especially he wants people to think for yourself. I feel that so much now. How can someone tell us about ourselves? That's the problem with Neo-Advaita. In actual Advaita, the teacher points in the direction of the self and then shows you how to find your way there. In Neo-Advaita, it's like they tell you over and over and argue with you about what you are and what you aren't. Yes, so thank you for this beautiful letter. And on to Gregory's question. Do you read Nisragadatta? I used to, or I checked out Nisragadatta. And actually someone else recently asked about Nisragadatta, so I will, I'll speak a little bit about him. Nisragadatta. In general, I don't like naming teachers. I like talking about principles and ideas, but in this case, it's important. Nisragadatta is, in my view, one of the grandfathers of the Neo-Advaita movement, meaning he's one of the people who really did things that set the ball in motion. Specifically, he wrote the book, I Am That. So I have some critiques of Nisragadatta, and before I get into that, I'm going to share what I like about him. First thing I like about him is he didn't charge money. It's a very rare thing in the Neo-Advaita circle. And there's debate whether or not he's a Neo-Advaita teacher. He didn't charge money. Once he achieved whatever spiritual state he achieved, I don't know that it was full enlightenment. I don't know. I know that I wouldn't look to him to guide me, and I wouldn't look to his words to guide me. I also do feel, both intuitively and from reading his works, that he definitely made some kind of quantum leap spiritually. So That's the other thing I like about it. I experience him as someone who's had very profound level of spiritual awakeness. The other thing I really love about him is once he had that spiritual shift, he didn't really have a private life. He literally opened his home to allow people to come in and meditate in his home. That's one of the things I don't like about Neo-Advaita teachers is they go up on a stage, they perform, usually they rake in a lot of money, and then they disappear. That's one of the ways you can tell someone who has a private life, you know, for me that's a yellow flag. Almost always means they're not fully liberated if they have a private life. If like they're not just devoted to service and helping other people. That's my view. So those are the things I really appreciate about Nisragadatta. He was also very devoted to his guru. And he had a traditional guru. Interestingly enough, he didn't have an Advaita guru. It's another tradition, the name of which I don't have handy right now. What I don't like about Nisragadatta, first and foremost, how he, quote, became a guru. He had a dream in which his teacher told him to start teaching. His teacher had already left his body. So that's problematic. That's problematic. See, in traditional, not just non-duality, but spiritual circles, you don't start teaching other people until a bona fide guru has said you're ready to teach and really thoroughly checked you out, because false enlightenment is very easy and very possible. And also because you actually need to be trained. So it's one thing to attain enlightenment. It's another thing to know how to lead others there. And that may sound odd, and the spiritual world is odd and interesting. So I don't, I just, anyone who is self-appointed as a guru, I just don't take them seriously. There's like Ramana Maharshi is an exception, but religious authorities accepted him. So, the other thing I don't like about him is he wrote the book I Am That, which is like the Neo-Advaita Bible. I mean, it could be. It's just his approach to achieving enlightenment is just like, it's conceptual. Like he doesn't teach people how to, it's like he talks about enlightenment, but he doesn't provide a valid path. He just talks about it a lot. He doesn't teach a practice. He doesn't teach a path. So the other thing I don't like about him is he doesn't teach what worked for him. He sat and did a form of self-inquiry for 3 years. And according to him, that ended his suffering and he had an awakening. But he didn't teach that. And he received those instructions from his guru. So in essence, he kind of made up his own path. So it's like yellow flag, self-appointed guru, yellow flag. He kind of made up his own teachings, and he didn't pass along the teachings that his guru gave him. So I refuse to take him seriously. I mean, I respect him as a person. I respect him as a yogi, meaning someone who's very devoted to the path. But for my sanity, I can't and won't take his teachings seriously. And I'm sure that'll piss off a lot of people, and so be it. My sanity has become very important to me. It's become very, very important to me. So yeah, that's my take on Nisragadatta. Thank you for asking. Astro Cat. First of all, I love your name. Astracat said, do you have any insights about potential archon, false light, soul reincarnation traps after death? Oh, dude. So I don't even know if I know. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, because I've heard some of these words, and so first of all, let's talk about false light. So false light is a term I love because it sums up Neo-Advaita. False light is when something appears to be good and virtuous, but actually it's very evil and very untrue and very twisted. And Neo-Advaita is prime example of false light. Never seen it. I'm not saying never, but it's a very good example of false light. So Astrocat is asking, do you have any insights about potential archon? And archons are, I believe, are like these like very elevated yet evil beings. So basically, Astrocat's asking, like, after you leave your body, what to do about like false traps that could lead you down a dark path. Well, I would say to prepare now. First of all, I don't know if such things exist. It's you know it's talked about in the Tibetan literature a little bit, but a lot of so for my information nowadays, I just go to the classics. Like, what do the classic texts and teachers say? Because there's a lot of made up teachings. I just gave an example. Nisragadatta basically made up a teaching. So if you're concerned about that, or anyone is, I would say do practice now. And the number one thing to prevent any kind of peril, whether it be an archon, false life, soul reincarnation trap, or whether it be anything, is to trust, like to seek connection to the divine and hopefully find a legitimate teacher who you can really just trust completely and trust that they'll be with you, trust that they'll guide you, and then actively seek out that trust. Let's see if there's anything else I want to say. I mean, my response is that doing the right things in life, leading a spiritual life here in this life would prepare you for both leaving the body and what happens after that. And when I say a legitimate spiritual path, I'm talking about like the basics: humility, faith, surrender, devotion, detachment, seeking guidance. That those things will prepare you. And Astrocat wrote, it could be complicated to know once we are out of the body. It could be complicated to know once we're in the body. To know what's true and good is not as simple as it seems, and Neo-Advaita highlights that. And for me, the whole blessing of Neo-Advaita is it helps us to recognize false light. It helps us to recognize things that appear to be true but aren't. Yeah. For me, a big part of it just comes down to guru, like having a guru you trust in. And I don't consider Nisragadatta a guru. I don't consider any of the Neo-Advaita teachers a guru. There's two Western beings I consider gurus who I really trust, Jesus Christ and Bruno Gröning. And there are many, many Eastern gurus who I respect. And there's four that I really, really look to and really, really trust. Hadekan Babaji, Ramakrishna, Amachi, and Srila Prabhupada. These are all beings who I really, and so I invite people to see the thing is there's pure beings. India has been producing pure beings for thousands of years. When I say pure, I don't necessarily mean perfect, but like really pure beings. And you don't have to study their teaching, you know. Like I disagree. I disagree is a strong word. I just non-duality is not my path. Yet I still really trust Ramana Maharshi, and I trust that he can guide me and help me. So to find a being like that is really a precious being thing. And I invite people to look around. There's so many. Yogananda. I just feel inspired to just take a quick peek. Hold on one moment. I named a couple that I really respect. What I love about Ramakrishna is he combines, he had three gurus, a traditional Tantra guru, a Bhakti guru, and an Advaita guru. And he blends the three together. Paramahansa Yogananda, Amachi. Let's see if anyone else comes to mind. Sriti Sai Baba was amazing. He had Hindu and Muslim devotees because he just taught universal truths. And like people would be like, he's a Hindu, and other people would be like, he's a Muslim. Like he just was so into God. He was able to reach both people of different faiths. So I named a couple, but it's for me, it's been very, very important. So, all right, beautiful souls, thank you so very much for dropping by, and I wish everyone here a blessed, blessed day. Take care.